Alright, in this video tutorial we're going to talk about data manipulation in R. And the package that we will use for data manipulation is called dplyr, which is a popular and powerful package for common data cleaning and data manipulation and data summarizing. In dplyr package there are a couple of main verbs that make data manipulation very simple, efficient and very fast. So let's first make a comment showing the purpose of this lab, and the purpose of this lab is to practice data manipulation. And the first step is that we need to install dplyr package. Okay, so using install.packages, if you haven't already installed this package, you can use install.packages command and then here dplyr and then click run. After installing the package, you need to load it using library command and then type the name of the package dplyr. So after installing the dplyr package, so we also need a data set to manipulate, right? So for dataset that we would like to manipulate, we will use Gapminder dataset. So Gapminder dataset is a dataset about demographics of several countries over time. Okay, so again, I have to install this package. It's called Gapminder and click run. And after that, I need to load this package Gapminder into R. Okay, so if you look at the Gapminder, so it's a data set so let me store it in a variable. Let me call it data. Okay, and then run. So we store it in an object data. If you open up this data, so we have information for over 1700 observations or rows in this table, and also we have 6 variables, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So for each country we have its continent, we have its life expectancy, we have its population, and also we have GDP per capita for different years. Okay, so you can have demographic of a variety of countries over time. Okay, so first of all, let's check the structure of the data. Okay, so check structure of data. We use str and for our data set, which was data. So if you look at the structure of the data, so we will notice that we have over 1700 observations, 6 variables, and 2 of them are factor, country and continent are factors. And also for each one, for example, for country, we have 142 countries or levels. And also for continent, we have 5 continents, Africa, America, and so on. So year and also population, they are integers, and life expectancy and GDP per capita are numeric variables. Before talking about data manipulation, let's talk about pipe operation. Okay, so pipe operation is, first of all, you have to type percentage and then greater than and then percentage. So instead of writing these 3 characters, you can hold Ctrl+Shift+M if you are a Windows user, and for Mac user it's going to be Command+Shift+M as a shortcut key. So this operator makes the code much easier to understand, and it's extremely useful when there are a sequence of operations. Pipe operator takes whatever that is in the left side and then assign it to the right side of the this argument as the first argument. Okay, so we will have to solve a couple of problems to you will notice how efficient pipe operator is. Okay, so the first verb or function in dplyr package is called filter. Okay, so the first one is filter, and the purpose of filter is to select rows according to condition. So let's say I want to select in this data set. So I had a couple of continents, right? Asia, Africa, Europe, America. So let's say I wanna only select Europe as a continent. Okay, so I wanna select the rows, and the condition is that the continent is only Europe. Okay, so how can I do that? So if I would like to do this but not using dplyr package, it's going to be from data. I want to go to the continents, first select the continent, and then I will compare it with Europe. Okay, and so that's going to be all of the rows, and also I'm going to select a specific piece of data, right? So I have to use this operator, a square bracket, and then I'm going to say that from data I will select continents that are Europe, but all of this rows and all of the column. Okay, and then if I click on run, so the output, if I let me store it in an object like A, and when I click run, if I look at the A, all of them are Europe, right? This one may seem easy, but as we move forward, if I do not use the dplyr package, it can be very complex. So now if I want to use a filter command, first of all, I'm going to say that, so I'm going to take this dataset, dataset as the input, okay, data, and then I'm going to use Control-Shift-M or piping operator, and after that I'm going to say that just filter out what? To filter out the variable that continent is equal to Europe, right? Continent equals to Europe. Now if I click run, I'm gonna get the same result. So from the data, first of all, from the data, and then I'm gonna filter the rows. So filter is to filter out specific rows according to a condition, which our condition is that the continent should be Europe. And if I can save the result in an object A, and if I see that, so because it overrides, if I see A, I can see that all of them are Europe. So I can select a specific type of rows according to a condition using filter command. Now let's say I would like to have information about Europe countries that are after the year 2000. Okay, so here the year is going to be, there are multiple years in A, right? So I want to select the ones that are only the year is greater than 2000. So here I can add another condition that the year is greater than 2000. And if I click run, so this one is going to be Europe 2000 above, right? And click run. So if I look at this data set, so I have everything for the continent Europe, and all of the years are above 2000. Okay, and here instead of comma I can use ampersand operation instead of comma, so it's the same. So you can use comma or ampersand, so the result is the same. All of the continent that the year is above 2000. Now I want to select Europe or America. Okay, so for the or operator I will use, so first of all from data I piped it into filter, and I want to say that the continent equals to Europe. For the or operator we use this vertical bar or pipe character for or condition. So now I'm going to say that the continent can also be America, right? So now if I save it in another object, Americas underscore Europe, and if I run this and then I look at this one, I will see that we have the continent America and Europe. And then I also can make this more complicated, comma year greater than 2000. So you can have multiple criteria or condition here. So now if you look at that, So it's going to be all of the Europe or America, and the year is above 2000. How about population? You can have, for example, the population is greater than 5 million. Okay, so again, you can add another condition here that the pop is greater than 5 million, and so on. Okay, so the next one is select function. Okay, select, and select is used to select specific columns. Okay, so this is very helpful when you have so many variables. Okay, so let's say you have 200 variables in a very large data set, and you want to select only a few number of the variables. So in this data set that I have, data, I want to select, for example, country, this one, year, and also I want to select life expectancy. So I want to select only these 3 columns, and I want to only work with this column. Okay, so to select a specific column, first of all, we have data, and then we use pipe, and after that we have to use select, and I want to select, just mention the name of the variable. Okay, so country, and also we had year, and also we had life expectancy. And then when you click run, so you will see that in this data set, so you have only country, year, and life expectancy. Again, you can save it in another object and only work with that specific object. Instead of writing the name of the column, you can also use column index. Okay, for example, in this data set, I want to select from column 2 to column 4, continent, year, and life expectancy. So I can type from data piped into select, and then I can just mention from column 2 to 4. That's it. So what will happen? So we have continent, year, and life expectancy, which are these 3 columns. Or you can use the column name. For example, I want to select from, again, continent to pop. I will say continent to POP. Okay, and then if I click run, it will select from continent to pop. And also you can, for example, if I want to select everything but a specific column, for example, I want to have everything but country. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that here, so I will say that data select, I don't want to, so I will use this dash line, I don't want to have country in the data set. Okay, so what will happen? So you will have everything but country. So that's how you can select a specific column and work with that specific column. So now let's combine select and filter. So filter was used to filter out the rows, and select was used to select a specific column. So if I want to combine them, so combine select and filter. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select a specific column and then filter a specific number of rows from that columns. Okay, so from data piped into first of all, I'm going to select country, and then I'm going to select year, and then I'm going to select life expectancy, and then the output of the select, from the select I'm going to select the or filter out the rows, right? So again, piped into I'm going to use filter to filter out the life expectancy that are life exp that are greater than 80. And then if I click run, so I will see that, let me save this in a new variable b and then run. So here see that country, year, and life expectancy, and the rows only shows the life expectancy above 80. Okay, so the next verb is arrange, and arrange is used to sort the rows according to column, or one column or multiple column. Okay, sort rows based on column. So let's look at the data set that I have. So in the data set that I have, the data are not being sorted, right? For example, for the year is 1952, 57, and then again goes to, 2000 here, 2002, and then goes to 1967, right? So it's not being sorted. I'm gonna sort the data based on year, okay? So what I do is that using arrange command, and then here I'm gonna say that I'm gonna sort it based on year. And the default value is ascending, which means that it sorts the data from minimum to maximum. So if I look at the values, let me save it in the object C and then run. So you can see that everything is being sorted. 1952 is the first, and then 1957, and so on until 2007. Okay, so data has been sorted. So the data has been sorted based on this column, which was year, but it's not being sorted based on continent, right? A, E, A, right? So it's not sorted. So what I'm gonna do is that I can also add continent. But before talking about that one, so I sorted the data in an ascending order. How about if I want to sort it in descending order? The only thing that you have to do is that add a dash line behind that, and if you run that and look at C, you can see that it's been sorted in a descending order. Okay, so let me sort the data, arrange the data in an ascending order, and then I'm gonna arrange the data, which was for variable C. I want to arrange the data based on continent. So first sort it based on year, and then sort it based on continent. So I'm gonna add continent here. So now if you run this code, you will see that, so it's been sorted based on year and then sorted based on the continent. Again, which one has to come first? It's not, for example, life expectancy is not being sorted, right? So I want to have first sorted by year and then continent and then by year expectancy, life expectancy, right? So I can add another one, life expectancy. So here, if you look at C, so now we can see that everything has been sorted. So again, here is based on the ascending order. I can make, for example, life expectancy sorted or arrange descending order. Now, if you look at C, so this one is ascending, this one is descending order. So the next verb is mutate. And mutate is used to add a new variable from existing column, okay? Add a new variable from existing columns. So for example, here, if I look at the data set that I have population and I have GDP per capita, but I only want to have GDP as a new variable to be added here. So what should I do is that I'm going to multiply population and GDP per capita and store it in a new variable, okay? So how can I do that? Using mutate. So from data piped into, so I'm going to use mutate, and then I'm going to say that I'm going to multiply population by GDP per capita, and then I'm going to store it in a new variable such as GDP, okay? And if I click on run, what will happen? And then let me save it in variable E. So what will happen if I look at E? I can see that a new variable has been added here, okay? So now, for example, I can also add, it's not just one variable that you can add multiple variables. For example, I can have another variable, I'm going to call it inverse GDP, okay? And inverse GDP is 1 over GDP. So I'm going to use the same variable that I just created to create a new other variable. It is possible. So if I click run, and then if you look at E, I can see that inverse GDP has been added. I'm going to, for example, arrange the data based on GDP in a descending order. I want to see which country has the highest GDP, okay? So let me remove this one because it's not that helpful. So I'm going to have the output of this as the input for the arrange, and I'm gonna sort it based on GDP, but in a descending order. Okay, so what will happen? So if I look at E, now I can see that the United States has the highest GDP for several years. China has the highest GDP in the year 2007, and so on. Okay, so the next important verb is summarize. And summarize, using, it has to be written in S, okay? So the summarize is used to provide a summary of statistics, okay? For example, for instance, I would like to find maximum and minimum of life expectancy, okay, as a new variable. So from data, pipe into, I'm gonna use summarize, and after that I'm gonna say that I'm gonna have maximum life expectancy, right? And I'm gonna save it in a new object called, a new variable called max underscore life expectancy, right? So if I click on that, what will happen? Maximum life expectancy is 82.6. So let me add, for example, minimum life expectancy, and I'm gonna save it in a new variable min underscore life expectancy, and run. So it gives me maximum and minimum, right? So summarize normally used by group by, and group by is used to first group the data and then provide a summary of statistics, okay? For example, so summarize alone doesn't seem that helpful, but when it's used by group by, it is a very, very helpful function, okay? So for example, I wanna have the maximum life expectancy and minimum life expectancy for each country, because in our data set, so for example, Asia, so I wanna find the maximum for, for example, for Afghanistan, I'm gonna find the minimum life expectancy, and I want to find the maximum life expectancy, and so on, okay? So in that case, first of all, what I'm going to do is from data, I'm going to group by the data based on the country, okay? Country. And then after I group the data based on the country, and then I'm going to find the, for example, I'm going to use the summary, okay? I'm going to use this command. So what will happen? So now I have, let me save it in another object, F. Now if I look at F, for each country, I have maximum life expectancy and minimum life expectancy. So first of all, I grouped it based on country, and then I find the maximum life expectancy and minimum life expectancy. I can also count how many observations are in each one. Okay, so if I use N, and then open close parentheses, and I'm gonna save it in an object like count. So what will happen is it will show me the count, number of the observations for this one. So based on 12 observations, we found the maximum and minimum life expectancy. So how about I'm gonna group by the database on continent, not country. So first of all, I group the data based on continent, and then if I look at the variable, so for each continent I can find maximum, minimum, and count. So it's a very helpful function that is used in the dplyr package. So now let's talk about missing value, which is a very important topic. Sometimes in a data set that you have downloaded, there are several missing values. Okay, so let me talk about missing values. So how can I deal with missing values in a data set? Okay, so let me load the data *var, which is from the dplyr package. So if I click run for this data, so for the *vars, we have for each name, for each of the actors or actress in the server, we have a couple of characteristics, or we have their height, mass, which is their weight in kilogram, hair color, skin color, and so on. So as you can see, there are NA in this data set. NA here means not available, which means that it's a missing value. So how can I deal with missing value? First of all, how we can identify if there is or if there are missing values in our data set. So here is very obvious, but sometimes you have a very, very large data set and finding missing values may not be that easy. So to identify the missing values, so let me type to locate or identify missing values. To identify missing values, we use is.na, which means that is it not available value or not. I type the name of the data set, which is Star Wars, and if I click run, it shows me that so the output is a matrix of true or false values. So true means that it's a missing value. I'm asking, is it not available? Is it a missing value? So here, for example, it says that. So for example, line row 33 and column 3 is a missing value. Okay, so if I look at the row 33 and column 3 is a missing value. So it can identify whether there is a missing value in this data set or not. So the next step is that how can I remove all of the missing values? How can I remove all of the rows? So here we have 87 rows, right? So I'm going to remove all of the rows if there is any not available number or missing value. So to remove the missing values, the rows, we use na.omit. Type the name of the data set that you have, Star Wars. So it will, if you run that one, so now you can see that. So let me save it in an object G. So now you have 29 observations. In this 29 observation, you cannot find any missing values. Okay, so na.omit, so it will return the data set that doesn't have any missing values. And finally, how you can remove missing values when you are doing your calculation. So so some students, first of all, they remove all of the missing values and then work with data set, which is not recommended, because sometimes, for example, in this data set, I just want to, for example, if I want to find the mean or average of the mass, I don't want to remove this one, okay, this row. I just want to remove, do not include the missing values in this calculation, okay? So how can I, exclude missing values in the calculation? For example, if I wanted to find the mean of, from the Star Wars, if I want to find the mean of mass, their body weight, so if I click run, I will get NA, not available. Why? Because some of the values were missing values, right? So how can I do that? How can I exclude the missing values from our calculation? I have to add another argument, that na.rm, which means that remove NA. So do you want to remove NA? And I'm going to set this to true. Okay, so now if I click run, it will show me the weight, the mean of the